with a short introduction just to introduce the webinar. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our webinar, New Year, New Horizons, Expand Your Business to New Location, Hassle-Free, that we organize in collaboration with our member Hightekers. Today we will have a great speaker from Hightekers, Emma Naylor, who leads an expert team offering dedicated support and strategic advice to businesses and freelancers, facilitating the growth and international expansion of their businesses and careers. Emma will start with her presentation, but don't miss the chance to send her questions that you can write directly by using the Q&A button, the Q&A feature on the Zoom panel. Now, Emma, if you're ready, I will leave the floor to you. Thank you
very much, Jasmine, and thank you for organising this webinar. Hello and welcome to everybody that's joined us here today. As Jasmine says, my name is Emma Naylor and I'm International Sales Manager. I manage an international team here in the UK for Hightekers. So just to give you a bit of a background, a bit of an introduction to who exactly I am. So my background originally was in IT recruitment. Even at one point, I had a business of my own. And I would say for the last 14 years, I have been working for businesses in flexible workforce solutions. So mainly services that are aimed at contractors, freelancers, temporary workers of all different types to facilitate them working in flexible ways. So I joined Hightekers at the back end of last year, and their services very much align with my background and experiences, but on an international scale. So the world of work is evolving, remote working, global mobility is a big area that's increasing to grow. So it's a very exciting business to be a part of. And I'm very glad to be speaking to you guys today. So I'm going to just get my slides up and bear with me a second while I share my screen. Can you just confirm, Jasmine, that you can see my slides?
Yeah, all good.
Great, perfect. And happy Valentine's Day, by the way, to any of you in the UK or elsewhere that celebrate this. I hope you didn't start the day off as badly as me when I completely forgot and had to scuttle out of the door and hoping to panic buy later and hope that it looks like some romantic gesture, not that I forgot at all. So anyway, today I'm here to talk to you guys about international hiring made easy. So exploring the employer of record solution. So what I will cover, I'm going to give you a bit of background about who we are. So what are Hightekers core services, a bit of a company overview, an introduction to our network, our global network. What exactly is an employer of record solution? So I'm going to give you the technical definition, exactly what does it do and how does that work? Then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail to explain to you exactly what it is that EOR can do for companies, what EOR can do for the individual workers that use the EOR, and then cover off a few other different points so you can look at how using an EOR compares to, for instance, opening your own entity in a country, to cover off some of the things that we are not, because some people confuse how a staffing agency or recruitment business interacts with the EOR. Cover off a few real cases, and then I'll open the floor to any questions and that you may have. So as Jasmine said earlier, please do put any questions that you have for me in the chat, and at the end I'll see if we can get those covered off. Otherwise, we can arrange, you can have my contact details, or we can arrange to follow up and have a private conversation about any of the issues or any of the points that we raised today. So who are we? Good question. Who are Hightekers? There are many different ways in which you could potentially describe us. I would say the easiest way to explain what we do is we are international expansion specialists. So we offer a variety of premium services which help support businesses to gain access to the best talent globally by taking care of all the administration and compliance that comes along with employing people. That's simply, in a nutshell, I think, the best description of what it is we do. So we offer a range of different solutions. So I'm going today just touch on the two sort of main core solutions that Hightekers offer. So one of our solutions is for independent contractors. This is an exclusive service just purely for IT and engineering consultants. We have this option in 13 countries at the moment and growing, and it's been super popular. I think the world of work has really changed, especially in the IT industry. Many roles can be done remotely, so many individuals want to experience working in a different country. That could be for various different motivations. It could be access to better jobs, better rates of pay. It could be to experience the culture. It could be for family reasons. There's lots of different reasons. So what we actually can provide them is a great alternative for them to have instead of having a limited company. So for a lot of contractors, especially they can use this service in their own country, but especially where they might want to use this to go and work in their business elsewhere. They need help and support to understand how it works from a tax perspective, to be compliant on the ground. And many contractors, they don't want to have their own limited company. It could be that they're not able to have their own limited company to work on a specific project. So what we do is we take care of all of them administration, so 360 admin, including all invoice management. We will chase up the contracts with the client. We chase all the payments for them. And we can make advance payments if a client hasn't paid in time. If there's any delays on the payments for them, we can help them to be compliant on the ground by doing things like sorting out their visas, their work permits, so that they're able to work. If they're able to claim expenses, and in every different country it's different what we can and can't allow them to claim. So we help them to do all that. And in some instances, the things that we might be able to do for them can help them be more tax efficient, so they have better take-home pay. We obviously make sure that they are fully compliant from a tax and employment law perspective. That's at the heart of everything we do. And we give them access to a network of like-minded individuals, so highly skilled professionals, and they can put each other forward for missions, for roles and assignments that come up, and they can help network and improve their skills amongst themselves. Again, there might be additional services that we can offer, and it varies by country. So there might be other things we can give them in terms of benefits. So access to things like car leasing, which is super popular. Health insurance plans. In some countries, it's essential we give them the health insurance. In others, it's a benefit for them to choose. They might want to have retirement plans, saving plans, childcare benefits, gym memberships, travel booking perks. So there's all sorts of a range within that service that we can offer. So the other core service that we do is something called Employer of Record services, otherwise also known as EOR. So this is a fantastic business option for businesses that want to win and retain the best talent globally. Now, down the Employer of Record service, this is not exclusively for IT and engineering contractors. We have a wide range of people in different roles that use these services in multiple countries around the world. We typically, the typical profile is, however, probably more white-collar workers, so skilled workers that are typically on an annual salary equivalent to around 40K and above. But we have businesses that work with us on an EOR basis that are in life sciences, manufacturing, obviously IT tech companies. There's logistics and freight. I think there's a wide range of businesses that this option can be very, very suitable for. And this is the option that I'm going to talk to you mostly about today. Bear with me. So just a quick recap at some stats, just to give you a bit more of an understanding about us. We have been going since 2016, set up by our CEO, Roger Odis, in Paris, in France. So we're predominantly a French company that has been growing at a very, very rapid rate. And today we have over 1,800 consultants and workers in our network. We've worked on over 2,550 projects all around the world. We have supported over 2,000 different clients of all types, quite a few recruitment agencies too within that. We've invoiced over 23,000 invoices. Currently, we are able to support workers, mobilizing workers in over 150 countries. So that's great for us and great for our businesses that we work with. There's very few places that we can't enable someone to have a worker. And last year we had a turnover of £192 million, and we expect that to grow significantly this year. So as I alluded to before, we have a global network, which through some of our partners, so we have entities in 13 key countries, mostly within Europe. So we have a strong presence in countries such as the United Kingdom, where I'm based in our London hub. We have offices in France, Switzerland, Belgium, Italy, Spain, Poland, Portugal, Luxembourg, Mauritius, Netherlands, Dubai, and the USA. We're expected this year, the likelihood that we will be also opening entities in Germany, the Nordics, and India. And where we don't have entities and we don't have the specialist knowledge on the ground, we have actually got solid partnerships with in-country partners that have that knowledge and able to support us to have workers in 150 countries around the world. So most countries you'd ever want to have a worker placed, we can help. So what exactly is an employer of record? What is it that they do? So technical terms, if we're looking at a definition of what a company does, an EOR is a company that actually legally employs individuals for another business or entity where they lack their own business or entity locally, and they don't have the HR capabilities to do this. So the EOR, in this case ours, would take full responsibility of all the aspects of employment. So we would ensure we're compliant with all payroll, taxes, all the benefits and any expenses that we do, and making sure that they have work permits or visas to be compliant and work in that country. So mostly a combination of tax and employment law. We would be the specialist to make sure that we do everything compliantly. And transparency is key. So when we work with our partners, with the businesses, to help them to put workers into different countries, we're very transparent about exactly how it works, exactly what the employment costs would be for all parties. The workers themselves can have a very clear understanding of what their salary would be. It would be a fixed salary and it wouldn't change, so the costs would be fixed on a monthly basis. So you might ask, why exactly would a business want to use an EOR company? So essentially the world of work is changing and evolving, and it's doing so at a massive rate. Combination of factors are driving this. So in many markets, businesses are facing a deficit of good qualified candidates, and it's a very competitive space in certain industries and certain sectors to get the best talent. So why restrict yourself to just looking at the talent pool in your current country, in your current region, when actually, if you look globally, the businesses that are doing extremely well are those that actually go and seek that experience, that know-how, that knowledge, and find great candidates outside of their own current market. So I also seen that there's a growing trend. So individuals also are looking for more of a work-life balance. This trend has massively grown since COVID. Now that people have got used to having more flexible ways of working, more people are demanding remote work. So it's super important that businesses look at how they might be able to facilitate this if they want to get the best talent globally. So working with an EOR can help businesses in a number of ways. Some of the key ways then, as what I've mentioned before, is simply to gain access to the best talent around the world and not restricting yourself as a business. Also, and I've noticed this from being in Hightekers and an international business now, actually having a diverse workforce, it can massively improve creativity. It can also open doors for you as a business. So I'm now working with colleagues from all over the world, and I find it fantastic. It's great that there's definitely, I see ideas flowing when you're working with people that come with a very, very different mindset. I think it does create much more interesting and creative environments to come up with new ways, new strategies, things you perhaps have never thought about because in your particular country or your particular area, you've only ever done it in a certain way. So dealing with people outside in a different country, a different culture can help you with creative ideas to really boost your business. It can help you retain the very best talent by offering remote work and allowing them to be more flexible. Many workers, as I've said, are actually demanding this now. Maybe they want to be closer to family. It could be, we have instances where somebody is married to a national from somewhere else and they have to move the country because to be next to family as there's a personal situation arises. There's very different reasons why If you want to retain the best talent, you should think about, is this an option that you can help them to work more flexibly in a different location? It can allow you to experiment by offering products and services in a new market. So many people would use an EOR if, for instance, they're not sure, it might be a UK-based business and they're not sure whether or not their services and products would sell in Italy, but they don't have an entity on the ground. It's very costly and time-consuming to have an entity on the ground, and they may well find that their services don't sell to that market, and it's not of interest in the same way as it is in the UK. So one way you could experiment, and other businesses do this quite a lot, is to hire a number of individuals to work in that market to see how things work out. And obviously, if it's super successful, it's usually at that stage where that business would consider opening an entity of their own and then employing them themselves later down the line. But it's a great way to have proof of concept if you're unsure and want to experiment in different marketplaces without actually fully committing. Other ways that people use an EOR service could be to offer better 24-hour coverage. So it depends on the nature of your business. Some businesses want to have their phones manned by internal employees that understand their business 24/7. So when one cohort of workers is going to bed and finishing work, another is available in a different country that can pick up those calls and support your clients and your customers. So there are many varied reasons for it. I've also heard that some businesses choose to have an offshore team. So sometimes that might be an offshore IT team, because they might find that actually there's only an hour difference between the country they're looking at and the country that they're based in at the moment. And actually it's a really great way to get slightly cheaper resource potentially in a different country, where the rates for the workers that they employ may be slightly lower because there's less opportunity locally. Lots and lots of different ways in which an EOR can really help businesses to grow and to really thrive. So how does it work from a general contractual point of view? Well, in terms of the relationship that you would have with the worker, that would continue as normal. So you'd still be in charge of dictating what it is that they do on the ground, being involved in the day-to-day management of their work. But we would have a contract for services between ourselves and your business. And after that, we would then have a contract of employment, a local contract of employment with that worker. So they would become an employee of Hightekers. And because of that, we would be fully responsible for all compliance activity and making sure they get paid on time and smoothly. So you don't have any of that headache. You simply have that worker available to do the work that you need them to do. It's very, very simple. So let's give you an example of a situation that's happened in reality, just to give you a flavor. So we had a situation with a guy, John Doe, who was working as a manager in a company, Atlantis, in the USA. And he'd been there for 3 years. He absolutely loved his colleagues. He got on well with everybody, loved his job, and there were some really interesting projects coming up. So he didn't want to leave. However, he really, really wanted to move to the Netherlands because of his partner's family. So this was a situation, and he didn't know what he could do about this. Unfortunately, the company, Atlantis, didn't have a subsidiary in the Netherlands. So John did a lot of his research and found out that the EOR solution could be a fit for him. So sometimes a lot of the time we have businesses approach us, but we do directly have workers that are looking to change their life, work remote. They don't want to leave their client, they want to continue working. So in some instances, it is actually directly the worker that will get in touch with us to explore the options that they have. So going into a bit more detail, what actually does an EOR do for companies then? So first and foremost, we onboard your workers fast and easy and slick onboarding. So that's really important. If you have a project that's going to start very quickly, if you want to put a worker in a country for a particular reason, and it's absolutely key to get them onboarded quickly so that that project can go ahead. Obviously, if you're considering to open an entity, that can take time, it's time consuming. This would be the fastest way to get somebody on the ground to actually do the job. We, as I've said before, managing the assurance with all the local labour laws, this is absolutely key. If you're working in a market and you've not got experience of working in that market, it's extremely complex to navigate the minefield of different employment law and various tax law, which also consistently changes on a regular basis. So the easiest way is to work with a partner, work with a specialist that has all that knowledge, can protect you because we'd be responsible, and we would make sure that they're compliant on the ground. It's cost effective. As I've mentioned, to actually open your own entity, that can take time, even where you open the entity, and it can be costly. And you need to get that specialist knowledge. And where people have sometimes failed, I've seen it before, where businesses have pushed ahead and done something too very quickly, and they've ended up with, for instance, potentially a tax bill because they've not been doing everything compliantly. They were unsure of how things should work, and a simple mistake can be very costly. So it's the easiest and quickest, most cost-effective way of getting employees on the ground in a location where you currently don't work. So that also helps with flexibility and scalability. Again, you might only need to have a group of workers doing a particular project for a small period of time in a particular location. So it gives you that flexibility that when that's finished, you haven't got the entity there. You don't need to close that entity down. It hasn't been a waste of time putting all that energy into setting one up. So it really helps businesses to be flexible and scale. Accurate international payroll, that's absolutely key. And obviously working with specialist providers, it's super important to have that knowledge so you don't make those mistakes that can be extremely costly. And the main benefit is really that it gives you that access to borderless talent, to get the best talent from all around the world for your business. So what exactly does the EOR do for the worker? So again, some of this is a little bit repetitive, so apologies. We make sure that they're compliant with employment law and local laws, which is very important for the worker. We can manage their compensation and benefits. So we would work with a business to understand what benefits they would want to offer their employees, and we can help handle that. Also handle expenses if that's something that they're able to claim. Every worker and every situation is different. We can give them access to local tax advantages. So I'll touch on it a bit later, but there are certain countries where they offer really beneficial schemes to new workers that have come from outside. If they're highly skilled, they might have a significant tax reduction rate. So it can be extremely attractive. And again, for businesses where that's an option, it can be a great way to attract talent in if they can have access to some of these tax breaks. And again, this varies by country. It's not possible in all countries, but we can help advise you on that. So we can work with help that worker to do the visa. We will sponsor the visa or work permit, and we can sort out all of those applications and do all that for the worker. We can also help them if they have dependents or other partners that they need us to sponsor, because they also need to migrate. So we can take care of all of that headache for them. It gives them access to a borderless search. So in lots of workers, as I've said, it's a trend that is massively growing, that workers want to be remote, or they want the flexibility to go and work or try working somewhere else for various reasons. And we give them a very simplified guaranteed payroll. So the way it would work on an EOR is that we would fix their salary for the month. So they would know exactly what they were going to be paid every month. Very clear, very simple for them to understand exactly what their take-home pay would look like. So going back to that situation where I mentioned about John, how does it work in reality? Well, John did his homework and he spoke to us about EOR. Atlantis wanted to retain him. He was a great employee. He had lots of experience. It's very difficult to replace people with the level of experience that some people have. They had invaluable projects coming up, which his experience was going to be absolutely key if they were going to be successful. So he was also very impressed that John had been proactive and come up with his own solution to this issue. So we discussed things with Atlantis about how what we could do to help them. So by working with us, we would give them full compliance. So John would be fully compliant in the Netherlands. We would give them access to local professionals. So he could speak to us anytime. We could support him if he had questions about the country. And mostly they get to retain a happy and motivated employee. So you get real loyalty where you're able to be flexible and allow workers to work through, to have this flexibility and work through an EOR and be based where they actually want to be based. The loyalty that businesses get is massive. So it has a great impact. So we take care of all of John's visa process, made sure he was compliant, and gave him a warm welcome in the Netherlands. So very, very simple, and it works for both parties. EOR versus. So just going to touch briefly on EOR and how that can compare to opening an entity in a country. So as you can see on the right there, just gives you a bit of an understanding about the kind of costs that could potentially be involved if you are looking to open your own entity on site. So it could be that you need to have a finance department, you might need to have an HR department, a legal department potentially, depending on how you're intending to scale. So it can be quite costly to get that legal representation to understand exactly what it is that you're doing. It can be time consuming. So if you really have an urgent reason to have a worker in a country, setting up your own entity to start with might not be the best way forward. So it could be the good option for you if you are confident that this is a market that you want to be in for the long term. There's no question or query about that. Then potentially setting up an entity might be the right thing. If you are planning to hire a substantial number of employees and grow very, very quickly, again, it may be something that you want to look into, depending on what that looks like for you. So it's a personal decision for all businesses. But obviously, if you are setting up your own entity, you are fully responsible for that entity, for making sure that it's compliant with all legal and tax implications, and it can be costly and time consuming. So against an EOR service, it's very, very quick. We can get people on the ground, depending on visa situations and other things, within a week or so, depending on personal circumstances and all the other moving parts. But it's a very, very quick way to mobilize someone to be in a country. And then you don't have any headache in terms of compliance, because we'll be fully responsible for making sure they're compliant, making sure we're deducting the correct amounts of tax and paying the right authorities, etc. So it's much more cost-effective way of experimenting in new markets, or retaining, or in situations where you only want to have a project for a limited amount of time and you need people on the ground, or just individuals that want to work there for personal reasons. And an EOR is typically a much better, much more cost-effective method in that circumstance. So put this one in because there is some confusion around what we do. There's still people out there, businesses and workers, that sometimes mistake what we do for staffing agencies or recruitment firms. We don't recruit, so we get involved in the process after that part has happened. So the staffing agency, the recruitment business, they will be the intermediary between the talent and a hiring business. They would be advertising their roles on job boards and searching for that candidate in various different ways. They will be doing the background checks to make sure that that person has right to work in a country, or what their nationality is, if they're who they say they are, etc. Would interview those candidates and then fill that vacancy. But that is where the relationship ends. Typically at that stage, this is when we would get involved. So EOR services then support the recruitment process, but we take care of everything once the suitable candidate for a role has been found. As I've mentioned before, we manage all the legal, administrative aspects of making sure that that person is on the ground. We do not search for talent. We don't place people into jobs. That is not something that we do at Hightekers. So just to give you a bit of an overview about some real cases that we've dealt with, just so give you a flavour, and every scenario is different. And that's what keeps everything interesting here. We speak to people from all over the world that want to work in various different locations, and it's figuring out the best way forward for this. So one instance, we had a UK-based business that was not currently situated in Portugal. They aimed to broaden their business reach, and they were looking to us to help them bring on a local employee for expansion. So that's one case that we've dealt with. We've had a German professional that needed to move because her partner got a job offer in Spain. Thanks to working with us, thanks to the EOR, she successfully relocated and has managed to keep her job and still work remote. So we get lots of workers that want to move and still want to continue to work with the same client, with the same business. We've had a company from Dubai that wanted to explore the Dutch market and grow there. So they've used us for EOR. And we've had them smoothly to move 2 employees that they already had working without any issues into the Netherlands market. So those are just a few scenarios that we've dealt with, and we have a real mixture of scenarios that come up each and every day. Thinking globally, acting locally. So essentially the EOR package, just to recap, we make sure that the employee, we take full responsibility for employee management. So onboarding the worker, allowing expenses if they're processing expenses if they're able to do it, processing their payroll, making sure they're compliant on the ground. We will set up their visa, sponsor their visa, and go through that process with them. If it's a work permit, we will do this. So it's a very easy solution for them. Additional services that we may do, as I mentioned before, we were able to help them to sponsor child permit applications for dependents. If they are bringing over a partner or children, we can help them with that. In some countries, we can help with accommodation support. If they're relocating, we might be able to help with this, depending on where. We can do permit transfers, permit renewals. And actually, there are, I think I alluded to it earlier in the presentation, in certain countries, there are some extra tax benefits that certain individuals are able to access, which makes some countries look extremely attractive and can help you attract talent because they can get access to these tax breaks, tax benefits. So it varies, and these rules change all the time, and actually quite a few of them are changing recently, but it varies depending on countries. So just to give you a flavour, there is a rule in Italy called the Lavoratori Impatriati, excuse my Italian, which is absolutely rubbish, or it's otherwise known as Rientro del Cervelli, which is the anti-brain drain law. So this was brought in to give either Italians returning back to the country that have been working outside for some time to try and draw them back into the country, but also expats from other countries could benefit from some of the tax breaks. Now, they were much more lucrative last year. I believe they were up to 70% tax-free for a period in the north of Italy, and in the south as much as 90%. They have changed this rule at the beginning, but the intention is that it will be changed. So the understanding is that from now, no one will benefit from quite that much, but it's still looking like it will be around the 50% tax-free benefit, which is still very attractive to many returning Italians or people from outside Italy that will be interested to go there and benefit from this. So we're waiting for some more clarity about exactly what that looks, and I know the rules are a lot stricter around this now, but it's still definitely an attractive proposition to win talent back into the Italian market. Other countries do different things. So in the Netherlands, expats or people who have not worked inside the country can have access to a 30% tax-free facility. There's something called the Beckham Law in Spain, which is a much lower flat rate of tax that workers going in there can benefit from. So it's extremely attractive. Obviously, these tax breaks are even more attractive the higher the salary is of the particular worker. And actually, there was something in Portugal, the non-habitual resident regime, which actually that has now come to an end. But there's various different tax rules, tax breaks, and Dubai obviously is tax-free. So that's a very, very attractive market for winning talent. Lots of people want to move to Dubai. So that's just some of the benefits that workers can get. So it's a great way to attract them into different markets. And there you can see on the screen, there's just a few of some of the partners that we work with. Actually, there's quite a lot of recruitment businesses there, but as I mentioned before, we work with a number of different businesses in lots of different markets, like life sciences, logistics, freight, manufacturing, all sorts of different businesses. For the EOR model, there is not a particular sector type that we work with. It's across the board. And that's it from me, I think. So you can scan the QR code there and follow us on LinkedIn. Obviously, that's my details there on screen. I'm sure that Jasmine we can send those around afterwards for anyone who wants to ask any more questions, wants to arrange a conversation to explore in any more detail or get some very specifics on a particular country, then please do reach out. And that's it from me. Yes.
Let's see if we have some questions coming. Otherwise, I mean, as you said, Emma, people have their contacts, and contacts will be shared also afterwards, because this webinar has been recorded. So, I mean, also colleagues of the participants and that couldn't join, I mean, you can share easily this. We will create a link with the recording of the video.
Yeah, no problem at all. And for some people, because their circumstances are individual, they're unique, it might be better anyway to set up one-on-one conversation so we can talk them through their circumstances and let them know the best way forward.
Absolutely. So yeah, if there is no other questions from the participants, I would like to thank you, Emma, and Hightekers for the webinar. I mean, we are the Italian Chamber of Commerce, so we wanted to thank you. Oh, actually, there's a question here. If you want to,
Oh, I can't.
do you see it?
Let me see. Oh, yeah. No, we don't only cover tech people's roles. So on the EOR side of things, which is the model that I've been mostly talking about, absolutely any types of roles. So typically the profile is usually more skilled workers. So usually those that have an annual salary of around sort of 40K and above. But other than that, we have people from all different walks of life. So definitely not just tech people, no. There's a wide range of people can work on the EOR model. Oh, is there another question? Great. So yes. So yeah, if anyone wants any more details, please do reach out directly, and we can have a more in-depth conversation to go through some of that detail with you and explain exactly how you can benefit, how we can help.
Great. Thank you, Emma, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar organized by the Italian Chamber of Commerce for the UK and our member Hightekers. As I said, everything will be available to watch on demand in a few days, maybe tomorrow. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you very much, Jasmine. Nice to see you. Take care, everybody. Have a very nice day. And don't forget to buy your Valentine's gift so you don't get into the doghouse like me.
Thank you, Emma.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.